The information and examples included in this summary presentation are designed to support the learning of Course Objective 3.1, which addresses interpretive research design. Remember that positivism holds that science or knowledge creation should be restricted to what can be observed and measured. Positivism tends to rely exclusively on theories that can be directly tested. However, interpretivism, also known as anti-positivism, proposes that the social realm cannot be studied with the scientific method of investigation typically applied to nature, and that social science investigations require a different theory of knowledge because all observations require human interpretation in order to make sense, and the concepts and language that researchers use in their investigations shape their perceptions of the social world they are investigating, studying, and defining. So, for this objective, you need to be able to identify and describe common characteristics of interpretive research models, comparing case studies, grounded theory, ethnography, and phenomenology research designs. So what might you learn about homelessness by asking a homeless man to describe his typical day? Narrative research can be a story of a day in the lives of individuals as told by these individuals. The researcher retells or restories this into a narrative chronology, combining views taken from the participants and the researchers' lives. Data in narrative research includes stories from individuals, as well as documents that might support their stories. Now, narrative research will not be included as an option when distinguishing interpretive research models because it is more of a general model that could be applied to other more distinct models. But it's important to point out because it is used in the literature quite a bit to describe the approach that a certain researcher might be taking in their investigation. So what is going through the minds of the two young women featured in this photo? The two in the middle. Elizabeth Eckford was one of 9 black teenagers to integrate Little Rock, Arkansas's Central High School in 1957. And this rather famous photo shows her walking a gauntlet of shouting, taunting white students and adults. Also in the photo, Hazel Bryan, now Hazel Bryan Massery, was the white girl caught in the midst of yelling a racial epithet. The moment depicted in this image continues to reverberate throughout both girls' lives. In its broadest sense, phenomenology refers to a person's perception of the meaning of an event, as opposed to the event as it exists externally to or outside that person. The focus of phenomenological inquiry is what people experience regarding some phenomenon and how they interpret those experiences. A phenomenological research study is a study that attempts to understand people's perceptions, perspectives, and understandings of a particular situation or phenomenon. Data is primarily collected through personal interviews, though in some cases surveys can be used as well. So in other words, a phenomenological research study tries to answer the question, what is it like to experience a particular event, a particular phenomenon? Now, in this picture, imagine what you could learn about integration and racism and society's impact and influence on those phenomena by asking the two women in this picture what was going through your mind when this particular phenomena occurred. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? I think you could learn a lot. What can you learn about child development from watching children at play? The purpose of a grounded theory study is to generate or discover a theory. A grounded theory is one that is inductively derived from the study of phenomena. The theory is discovered, developed, and provisionally verified through systematic data collection and analysis of data pertaining to that phenomena. The important thing to remember is that you do not begin with a theory and then attempt to prove it, but rather you begin with an area of study, and then what is relevant is allowed to emerge from your research. Data is through interviews and observations, including survey data in some cases. And I will tell you, there are a lot of really important child development experts who developed theories of child development based on spending a lot of time watching children grow and interact with other children and with adults. What might you learn about teaching by observing a master teacher, interviewing him or her, reviewing documents such as materials developed and correspondences with parents and students, and examining data indicating student success rate and attitudes about the class that the teacher was teaching? Case studies are a form of qualitative research where a single individual or a single example is studied through extensive data collection, typically from interviews, documents, reports, and observations. What can you learn about the culture of a school by spending time in its halls, its classrooms, its bathrooms? Ethnography is the recording and analysis of a culture or society, usually based on participant observation and resulting in a written account of a people, a place, or institution. Ethnography is an extremely broad area with a great variety of practitioners and methods. However, the most common ethnographic approach is participant observation as a part of field research. The ethnographer becomes immersed in the culture as an active participant and records extensive field notes. As in grounded theory, there is no preset limiting of what will be observed and no real ending point in an ethnographic study. Data is generally collected from observation and interviews, and often in very informal ways. So those were just some very common examples of interpretive research models. And for this class, all you're being asked to do is to be able to identify and describe common characteristics of interpretive research models by comparing case studies, grounded theory, ethnography, and phenomenology research designs. And yes, there are definitely other designs that would fall under the umbrella of interpretive research, but these are four that are very common, and these are the four that you will need to be able to identify when given descriptions.